Hello, and welcome to an episode of Drinking the Kool-Aid. This is a comedy podcast dedicated to the mysterious. My name is Cassidy,
My name's Amanda.
and we're here for episode 243.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that wonderful?
That is wonderful.
That is. One of our beautiful listeners, OG listener, JD, who just had his birthday, shocker, Capricorn, that'll explain what I'm about to tell you, informed us that we have over 500 episodes between Patreon and our regular feed and over 200 Patreon exclusive episodes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
That's really wild.
Yeah. So if you guys were wondering if it's worth it to join the Patreon, it is.
It definitely is.
Get on there, binge. And we're going to be trying to like go live on there and do stuff like that more often too, just like more interactive-y now that the holidays are over and we're actually both going to be in the same state for a while.
Yeah, we're going to have like more time together to
Yeah,
do things.
literally.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was so weird over the holidays. I didn't see you or Kate for like weeks.
Yeah, that we went through like a little over 2 weeks without seeing each other.
It was really weird. And then I was in Arizona and then so it was like I'm so used to seeing you like twice a week at least.
Yeah.
And I went down to like once every week and a half and I was like, this is unnatural. This is why we can't ever live in different states.
I agree. You're the one that's trying to fucking move into the middle of nowhere in the woods.
Move you with me.
I can't live in the middle of nowhere. I'm not built for that.
Not the middle of nowhere, just a town that we decide to take over as friends. And it's just easier to do that with a smaller town.
No, absolutely. But you know that the only towns we're going to be able to afford are the ones in the middle of nowhere with nothing in them.
Well, that's why we build all the things. We don't. We tell our boyfriends to. They build the things. We show up and do this.
That's true.
And do the
I am watching
podcast.
A TV show right now that I like randomly threw on last week and now I'm almost done with it.
What is it?
Shocker. Virgin River.
Oh, I've never even heard of it.
It's very much like a soap opera-esque show. Like, you know, just like things are happening that don't happen to normal people all the time.
That's fine. I mean, we just were talking about how much we love Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah,
so it's like,
kind of like
come
that.
on. There's like 3 plane crashes on that show.
Yeah, kind of like that. But they live in a very small town called Virgin River, obviously. And like everyone knows everyone and everyone always congregates at this one bar. And I'm like, I just don't know if I could do that. I know I would be the most hated person in town.
But you don't. I don't believe you because you don't do anything.
What do you mean?
Like, you only do go to like the same 3 places. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I want the options.
But even then, okay, but you'll drive like an hour or longer up to Hollywood. Basically, anywhere you live in the United States, if you drive an hour, you'll get somewhere cool.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
If you need to branch out.
I know I would be the town gossip. And do I really want to be known as the town gossip?
You already are that because
gosh,
work at a restaurant. You already, that's what's confusing me. You're like, I can't just be around the same people all the time. You literally worked at the same restaurant for 6 years.
7
years with mostly the same people, a couple changes here and there. You have your reputation, you own it.
Oh yeah, my reputation is getting so much worse by the minute.
But I just mean like
so bad.
Like you already live this lifestyle you say that you are incapable of.
You know what's funny too is every single time I like start a new job or I move somewhere new or I like am just involved in like a different thing, every single time I go, okay, I'm going to be the best version of myself.
Yeah,
no one's going to know the truth.
Everybody says that, but unfortunately changing your location doesn't change who you are as a person.
That sucks.
I know. Because it should work. It should feel like a hard reset.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you carry all of your trauma and neuroses with you no matter where you go.
I also I wear...
Not just you, all of us, obviously.
No, yeah. But like me specifically, like I wear my emotions and my just all my shit like right on my sleeve.
Girl, who do you think you're talking to?
I know, that's true.
I am incapable of not expressing every single emotion that crosses my path.
I know.
I just have a lot less of them than you, I think.
Maybe. Like I feel like you would be better at like what's the word? Not like hiding who you are, but like being able to control your emotions or like letting people see that side of you. Like I can't, like people see that side of me and they're like, whoa, what's happening?
I think it just takes a little bit more. Like most things don't bother me very much.
Yeah.
But then when things do bother me, they bother me way more than like a normal person.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Like, but everything bothers me.
Yeah. Everything bothers you at least a little.
Yeah.
Where like me, it's like, okay, there's like 6 things that really bother me. And if you hit on any of those 6 things, God save you. But most of the time I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. That's fair. But literally every single thing in the entire world bothers me. So you're going to hear about it.
Yes. Oh, believe me, I know. We're in a group chat. I wake up to about 60 texts every morning.
I can't help it. It just happens.
It's fine. I'm hoping, if TikTok goes away, at least that will be one less thing to see things that make me angry.
Okay, so the TikTok ban, which who knows if it's happening? We don't know. It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Now,
it is. And it is.
Now
doesn't.
Trump is saying he's going to stop it.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, and I saw a post today by the guy who owns TikTok saying that President Trump reached out to him personally and said that he wants to halt the stop as much as he can, because the Supreme Court was originally hearing about it because they were saying it was like against our First Amendment right to not be able to free speech or whatever. And then the Supreme Court said, no, we still hate it. It's got to go. It's like a threat to national security or whatever. Because we're all getting communized on there or something. And then Joe Biden said he was going to stop it. But then Joe Biden said, never mind, I'm going to wait and see what the next administration does. And then Trump is now saying that he's going to stop it. And he apparently has reached out to the CEO or owner or founder or whatever.
So you would think that the president of the United States would be able to have the power to do these things.
They do. I mean, Joe Biden is the one who signed this into law. So it went through the House, through the Senate, and then it goes to the president's desk. He could not sign it. He could veto it. And then it would have to go through it again. And then it would have to win by a certain majority to overrule the president's veto. That's how it works.
It's a lot of jumping through hoops here.
It's a lot of hoops for a lot of money.
It's
for
TikTok.
The dumbest thing in the world.
It's literally an app where people go on and just do stupid shit.
Yeah, but they're also organizing. They're also learning about political things they've never been exposed to before. Yeah. They're also learning about history they've never been exposed to before. And that is a threat to our oligarchy that we currently live under. I don't even want to call it a democracy, but that's what they're calling it. But ironically, I mean, I'm sure you've heard about this. Also, I'm wearing shorts under this for the record. I'm wearing a dress, but I'm also wearing shorts. So I'm going to put my legs up. Deal with it if you're watching on video. I'm sure you've seen all these people joining Red Note.
Okay,
which is an actual Chinese app. So the guy who the CEO, I think he's the CEO of TikTok, he's Singaporean, right? And they're like, so I'm sure you saw those embarrassing Senate hearings where they're asking him about things, saying, so do you love China? Have you ever served under China? And he keeps going, I'm Singaporean, dude. What are you talking about? I'm from Singapore. What are you talking about? I've never been Chinese. I served under Singapore's army. I did my service, my 2 years or whatever. These people are just so dense in the head. And he answers all these questions, whatever. But they're convinced that this is somehow China, which can we get over being afraid of China? It's so annoying.
It is.
Grow up. Just say you're racist and move on. So everybody started downloading this app, which is basically TikTok or Pinterest for China, and given China straight up their data.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's called Red Note or Little Red Book.
There's a bunch of I've been seeing Red Note, and then also I've been getting these notifications on my TikTok messages being
Lemon 8.
This person joined Lemon 8. And I'm like, what is Lemon 8?
It's a different app that somebody created, but apparently that one's Chinese too. So this is what I'm confused about. This is why I know it's all bullshit. Because if you're concerned about data going to foreign countries, why don't you give a shit about Temu? Everybody uses Temu.
Temu, yep.
Haven't heard anything about Temu. You're just worried about TikTok because you think people are politically opening their minds on there. You see Republicans and Democrats meeting on there and going, we have more in common than we have apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have working class people organizing and finding humanness in one another, and that scares them. They got to have us little ants fighting each other, or else how are they supposed to boss us around so easy?
Here's the thing. I am scared of the TikTok kids, and I don't mind never having to see, you know, those kind of comments. Yeah. No, it just sucks because I feel like now that TikTok is being banned, or so we think, we don't know still, all these people are really like coming out with some good content.
Good
on
tea.
there. They're like, well, now that TikTok's being banned, I'm going to just do this, this, and this. And I'm like, this is what I want. I want to see this all the time.
Well, when I know it's funny, they're all like posting that stuff. And I'm like, just because you can't access TikTok doesn't mean this isn't going to be up on the internet forever now.
That's true.
And a lot of it is like influencers posting, just so you know, I don't even like coffee. I just started doing coffee in the morning for my get ready with me or whatever, because whenever I would get a coffee, more people would watch.
Yeah. Did you see that?
So I'm like, you guys are really just manipulating us.
I just saw one this morning of the girl who does like this fancy ice cubes. And she was like,
yes.
She was like, I don't even use those ice cubes. I actually don't like ice in my drinks. And I'm like,
see, guys, this is why, once again,
don't believe anything you see on the internet.
Don't believe anything you see on the internet, especially if it has to do with insurance companies.
But I do want to watch TikToks about cute animals and funny things that people are saying.
Well, if that helps.
How am I going to get my news?
I don't think you get your news from TikTok.
Well, I get something from TikTok. Some sort of news.
Because every time I tell you things that are really, really, really popular on TikTok that are actually news, you're like, never heard of it.
Yeah, no, I don't get that kind of news.
Yeah, so Amanda keeps pretending like she's going to lose her number one news source. She has never read the news ever.
No, and
if she sees the news, she'll scroll past. Sometimes she'll send me something and be like, can you believe this? And it'll be something that was posted 4 weeks ago. And then I already reposted. I'm like, you saw that because I reposted it.
I already have an anxiety disorder. I can't read the news too.
The news calms me down.
Oh, no.
Because I feel like if I don't know, it's worse. Because at least if I'm informed, I know what's going on. It's like almost like a level of control.
Yeah, no, I'm quite the opposite of you.
Well, because here's the thing. Okay. If you find out that something's been going on and you didn't know about it for months, wouldn't that make you feel way worse than finding it out in little tiny increments? It's like micro dosing the end of the world.
I don't know.
It's like for example,
because I mean,
the fires, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's say you like don't hear about or don't know anything about the fires for a week, and then you find out for the last week people have been like suffering and sick and dying and losing their homes, and that dogs have been suffering, and you didn't know anything about it. Wouldn't you be like, oh my God, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
But instead you got it in little increments of updates.
Yeah.
And that's more digestible than finding out in one big wave. And oh my God, you couldn't have helped, but maybe you could have, or even just sharing resources.
Also, you don't hesitate to tell me every bad, horrible thing that's happening every single day.
You are so wrong. I don't tell you 99% of things that I read. I do not tell you.
That scares me even more because the amount of things you do tell me.
I tell you like one thing every 3 days.
That's a lot of things.
Yeah, that is not how the world works. There are things happening every second.
Yeah, keep that to yourself. Tell me in a week.
Oh, my Lanta. Ugh, I did go up to Beverly Hills last night.
You did?
Oh my God. That city. Going anywhere.
Well, you are
parking.
You are number one like Hollywood, LA hater.
Going anywhere where you have to like figure out what the parking situation is. Like there's no help. It's not like there's a lot here. We drove around trying to find the entrance to the Beverly Center parking garage. It took so long, and then we couldn't get out. Do you want to know how their elevators work?
How?
Which we didn't realize. So we park. We finally get into this goddamn parking garage. Beep, beep. Park. Lock the car. Walk over to, where all the elevators are. And there's a family standing in one. And the doors start to close. They see us, and they put their hand in the door. So we
That's nice
obviously
of them.
give it a little scoot. You would think.
Oh.
You give it a little scoot. Run in. Hey, thanks. Hellscape of an elevator, by the way.
Tiny.
Completely a circle, mirrors.
Oh.
You can see every inch of your body anywhere you look.
No.
The back of your hair.
No.
The part that's none of your business.
No.
Right there. You know, you from side angle view?
No.
Let me tell you.
Keep your eyes closed in that elevator.
Bad. And the lighting, horrendous, really upsetting. And I was like, who is this made for? And so I say, because it's like a dad and his 3 kids, and I say to the dad, I go, lot of mirrors, huh? And he just goes and shakes his head. And I was like, cool. And then they immediately start talking in a different language. I was like, all right, they don't speak English. Okay. So I go to like hit the button because
he says to his kids, a lot of mirrors.
A lot of mirrors, huh? So I go to press the button to like, because we need to go to the ground floor and we're going up. And I was like, crap, we're in the up elevator. We didn't even think about that. Go to press no buttons. There's no buttons in this elevator.
What do you mean no buttons?
Only buttons are door open and door close. That's it. An emergency. So I look at Andrew and I go, do you think it just stops on every floor? Because there's only like 6 floors and it just goes up and down maybe? And he's like, maybe. And so we just end up getting out on a random floor because we're so confused. Turns out before you even get into the elevator, you're supposed to go on a little iPod Touch that they have out front of the elevators and select which floor you want. And then they tell you which one to get into. So those people thought they were being nice, being like, oh, we're holding elevator, but they had already picked their floor. It was madness.
Beverly Hills, that is way too high tech.
Oh, they said, you are too poor for these elevators.
Yeah, no.
Figure it out.
Also, like elevators are my arch nemesis, basically.
Yeah.
Every single time I get into an elevator, I'm immediately like, I'm going to get stuck in here.
That, if I would have gotten stuck in that elevator, I think it would have like functionally changed me as a human being. Like, you know, when they do those experiments where they like put you in a box full of mirrors where it's like the grounds mirrors, the sides mirrors, it's all mirrors. Where do the mirrors where do you end and the mirrors begin? Like that's what would have happened to me in that elevator. And I think, is this what people in Beverly Hills need to feel alive?
Maybe.
Like they just like a little existential dread with their getting to the 6th floor of the mall or whatever.
Probably, yeah.
Because I got in and immediately thought, what have I become?
Maybe that's why everyone in Beverly Hills, like the Beverly Hills plastic surgeons are so good.
Oh, it's big. It's big. It's big lip filler paid for those.
Well, because they're like looking in the mirrors all the time and they're seeing at every angle. And they're like, I need more filler.
Here's the conspiracy theory that's paid for, you know, big surgeon pays for those mirrors to be in there.
Correct.
Because I'm not
because
kidding
he
you.
wants to make sure that everyone wants more fillers and to go to him.
I saw angles of myself last night in this elevator that should be illegal, frankly, if I can be honest with you.
Honestly, that makes me shocked that you're even sitting here today.
Oh, yeah. It was really close. It was a really close call. Almost lost me. And I woke up this morning with like a little bit of an eczema outbreak on my neck. And I was like, of course. That's what I get.
What are the odds?
But yeah, do not 0 out of 10. Do not recommend the elevators in the Beverly Center mall parking garage.
There's no reason I'm going to the Beverly Center Mall in Beverly Hills, California.
I was going to dinner before. I went to go see a comedy show last night, which was so incredible.
Shout him out.
Chris Fleming, you are so funny. Your show was amazing. I brought my more conservative, you know, aunt and uncle, and they were laughing so hard they were crying, which to me is like the mark of a good comic.
Yeah.
Right. And like he used a lot of like he used a lot of like internet slang and stuff, but like in a way where it was like once again, mark of a good comic that was like understandable, and they like loved it. When we were walking back to the car, they were like laughing so hard, like quoting him and stuff. And I was like, I did it. Because I showed them some clips of him at Christmas dinner and they were like, should we go see him live? And I was like, should we? And then we show up to this show. We're walking into 90% mullets at this show.
Yes. Well, yeah, you sent me his a little bit that he did, and I immediately was like, oh, I like this. Yeah, this guy's style. And
super funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so we're walking, it's a lot of green hair, it's a lot of mullets. Mm-hmm. It's not the scene that you would typically see to older people from Orange County at.
Yes.
But I was like, part of me goes like, how did I fuck up?
Yeah.
Like, did I bring them to something that's going to make them feel very weird and like out of place? But they had a great time and they were laughing super hard. They loved it.
Once again, like you said, Mark of a good comic.
Yeah,
Can
very
get
much so.
everyone involved.
Got everybody laughing. You know, all of the jokes were just so funny. But yeah, 10 out of 10. Go see Chris Fleming if you have the opportunity. I don't know if he's currently touring or what, but I got to see him and it was awesome.
My favorite thing is we have a lot of like, they're called the improvs in California. I know they have them all over the United States. But when you go to a show at the Improv, typically there's a 7:30 show and then there's a 9:30 show.
Yeah.
And everyone that goes to the 7:30 show is always like just really old people that like you can tell they're like, what am I doing here? Like, what is? I just wanted to see like a show. They didn't even know. They didn't even know what it was. You know what I mean? And then 9:30 always is like the people that are actually fans of the comedian. Or whatever. I
remember we went to, was it the Irvine Improv, and we saw Mark Norman?
Yes.
And he like opened it up to questions in the audience, and I had a good bottle of wine by that point.
You did.
And he goes, "Is there anybody that wants to talk about anything?" And I go, "Tony Hawk loves you." Which I thought really was going to land because he seemed excited about it. And he goes, "What?" And I go, "Tony Hawk, he said he loves you." Because it had just happened on Instagram that day. And then I realized he probably hasn't seen this. He's been traveling all day and now he's at a show. And then he goes, "And this is why I love the late shows."
You know what's so funny is that I remember you saying something. I did not know what it was. I didn't remember
because you were behind me.
Yeah, didn't remember what it was at all. Couldn't remember the interaction.
Tony
at all.
Hawk loves you. That's what I said twice. I said it twice, and then when we took pictures with him after the show, I said, "Sorry, I'm the one who yelled about Tony Hawk," and he goes, "Oh, I looked that up on Instagram. He did say he loved me," and I was like, "Oh, thank God." And then I almost threw up in the car ride home.
That was a great night out.
It was a really fun night. I can't lie. I had a really good time. It was one of those nights where we showed up and we were supposed to have dinner. And then instead of dinner, we had wine.
Yes.
And
I'm pretty sure I don't know how many bottles you specifically had, but you did order 2.
And I was splitting with Andrew.
Yeah.
He was also drinking
And I
the
remember
wine.
you poured me a glass
from
your
the
bottle.
second bottle because I was like, we shouldn't legally be allowed to finish this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was only just like little finger foods and stuff because you're watching a comedy show. And like I remember the moment where I was like, there's half of the second bottle left. And I looked at Andrew and I said, "Why did we order this?" And he goes, "I don't know. I just did it." and so I was like, "All right, Amanda, glug, glug, glug. It's your turn." But it was a very fun night. I can't lie.
It was fun.
It was very fun.
I'm sorry. You have to see comedy shows when you're drunk.
Yeah. I mean, I was sober last night and it was still, I was actually thankful I was sober because I was laughing so hard that I had to pee that I was like, we would have lost me if I was drunk. But yeah, because the line, oh my gosh, we went to the Largo, which is like a very famous.
Oh, the Largo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very famous old comedy location in Beverly Hills, like right on Beverly Hills. It might even technically be Hollywood. I don't know. It's like right on the border. And, you know, Conan O'Brien performs there all the time. Patton Oswalt, who was actually at the show, he performed.
Yeah, that's fun. A little
Ben
cameo
Schwartz.
from Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, Ben Schwartz, Judd Apatow and friends, like tons of people. Sarah Silverman filmed her special there, like very famous. One bathroom.
Yeah.
One women's bathroom. Line wrapped around the whole lobby like all night. And I was like, I guess I'm just holding it.
That's how it always is. The women's bathroom is always a line.
And then meanwhile, Andrew's like, I guess I could pee. Walks over. 10 seconds later, walks back out.
In 10 seconds, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, Chris Fleming, go check him out. He's so funny. You probably have seen him and you don't even realize it if you've ever seen any memes with the mom who's getting ready for company to come. And it's the guy wearing the tank top and the yoga pants. And he's like, "We need to make it look like nobody lives here."
Oh, yeah.
That's him. That's from his YouTube show.
Okay.
Gail, where he plays this woman named Gail, it's like a very eccentric comedy show. But yeah, that's where I first discovered him.
I mean, you sent me a couple of his clips last night and I thought he was very funny.
He's very funny. Yeah. Well, why don't we welcome our new patrons before we get started?
Let's do that.
All right. So welcome to Sarah N.
Hi, Sarah.
Welcome back to Courtney Moose.
Hello, Courtney.
Who we actually read their story last week.
We did, yes.
Yeah.
Which I have to say, gave me nightmares.
Scared you?
Yeah, because I kept on the other night I kept on waking up and I kept thinking, oh, I can't pull the covers over my head because
might
there's going
see
to be
something.
a little creature.
And that's your one safety.
Yeah.
No good.
No good.
Welcome to Casey B.
Hello, Casey.
Welcome to Sam L.
Hi, Sam.
Alyssa L.
Hello, Alyssa.
And Genevieve.
Hello, Genevieve.
Those last three were gifted Patreon accounts. So thank you guys for utilizing that.
Yes.
And Genevieve, so happy to have you. Have you found your hockey husband yet?
We communicate with Genevieve quite often. We love you. Glad you're on Patreon now.
Glad you're on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for joining. We could not do this without you. And I would also like to say thank you to Ian, who bought us some beers.
Ooh.
And said, "Hi, ladies. Never bought y'all a drink before, but my birthday is on January 14th, so I figured it'd be the best time to start. Been listening since the double-digit sods, and yet y'all never fail to make a single week the most comedic and spooky week ever. Love y'all to bits and to bones. Ian."
Ooh, bits
or
and bones.
Jeremy Wormy.
Jeremy Wormy, yes. Well, happy belated.
Happy belated birthday. Thank you so much. God, since the teens, that means literally you've been listening for over 200 episodes. Like,
oh my God.
weekly. That's crazy.
Like over 4 years.
200 weeks. Woo.
Wow.
Woo.
That's a lot.
Well, thank you. And like I said, we literally can't do this show without you guys. So thank you so much for joining our Patreon, for sending us beers, for leaving us reviews. That matters too. We just totally dig you. And if you would like to join our Patreon, you can do that at patreon.com/drinkingthekool-aid or at dtkpod.com/support. There's other ways to support us, like our merch and our review us section and all of that fun stuff. And we're just happy to have you.
Yes. And I also really quick just wanted to, speaking of our Patreon and our cool kids, we got a comment from our cool kid, Sophie, who said, Can you give my husband Nico a birthday shout out? He's turning 34 on January 18th. And he was the one who introduced Sophie to us.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah.
I love that.
Love that. Happy birthday, Nico.
Happy birthday, Nico. Also, Nico, if I ever had kids, that's the name I would name my boy.
That's a cute name.
Nico.
I do like
feel
that name
that's
a
really
lot.
cute
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
It's kind of, it's like, I feel like Nico, and obviously like when you have a baby, you don't think like, oh, I want to name my kid something that would be like a hot person's name, but Nico seems like a hot person's name.
Seems like a cool person's name. How about we say that?
Okay, cool. I mean, cool and hot go hand in hand, no?
Depending. I've known a lot of cool, ugly people.
Anyway, you're probably cool and hot, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Well, then how about we get started?
Let's get started.
Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire scandal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love a scandal. And I love Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Me too. We used to watch it all the time when I was a kid.
Me too.
Yeah.
I used to literally come home from school and be like, oh my God, did I make it for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Did I miss the new episode? All right, so my sources today were a Vice article by Angus Harrison, thearticle.com by James Plaskett, an Al Jazeera episode, and of course, Wikipedia.
Oh, I'm excited.
All right, so in the late 1990s in Britain, there was a family who was so obsessed with quiz shows, well, really just trivia in general, huge fans, the whole family loved it, but they had become genuinely unhinged, obsessed with the new quiz show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which aired in 1998.
Wow. Who was the original? It was Regis Philbin?
This is the UK version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there was a UK one and then there was an American one.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know which one came first.
The chicken or the egg?
Who knows? So much so were they fans that two members of the family, siblings Diane and Adrian, had both been on the show by its third year on air.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for them.
But they only walked away with about $32,000 each. Well, pounds. I'm probably going to accidentally say dollars. It's pounds.
Bear with us.
Forgive me. I'm so sorry.
That's pretty good. No?
Yes, I mean, I don't know how like their tax system works, but at the end of the day, it's not like life-changing money. It's like a good little like woohoo.
Yeah,
But it's not $1 million
of course.
pounds.
Also, yeah, is it if it's Who Wants
Euros.
to Be a Millionaire? Is it 1,000 pounds? Like it's not $1 million. It's 1,000 pounds, which is different.
No, it's £1 million.
Okay.
Or euros or whatever. I don't remember
but I
what
mean that does
they still do $1 million. It's actually more. So like they won like 32,000 each, which was technically like 40,000 American dollars or whatever.
Got it.
Because it fluctuates, which is worth more, the American dollar or whatever. Economies. Woo. Okay. So like I said, we don't know how much profit they actually made because I don't know how the tax structure works there. And frankly, I'm not going to get into that for this.
Please don't.
I have too much bullshit happening in my brain at any given point. I can't also be worried about European tax structures. I know what I need to know, and it's that you guys have healthcare and we don't. Okay, that's what I know.
Real.
But the way that the show made money was to get on the show, you had to call into a paid hotline that charged 60 pence a minute. And you would have to do like a quiz and like interview on there. And allegedly, whoever was running it would try to keep them on the line as long as they could because they wanted to get as much money out of them as they could. And apparently, allegedly, Adrian had called over 1,700 times trying to get on the show. So we don't know how much money he actually spent on this paid hotline to get that 32K.
Girl, I was queen of calling paid hotlines.
You were calling paid hotlines?
Oh, yeah.
I thought like the American Idol ones, like the voting ones and stuff were free. Were they not?
No.
Oh,
and like to text in for things or to like, text this number. It's like 30 cents to text. I'd be like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
I don't care. And I would do it like 100 times.
And your parents would be like, Amanda.
Oh, yeah. One time I think they even were like, what's our phone bill? And I was like, I don't know what you mean.
Meanwhile, I was so afraid there was like a button on my flip phone that you could like access the internet. I don't even know what you could do on it, but every time you would hit it, it would like charge for like internet, whatever. And I would be so afraid when I would hit it, I'd be cancel. Oh my gosh. And meanwhile, you're like, fuck these bitches. I'm gonna text as many times as I want.
My dad literally asked me one time, like, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean?
You were like, I really need Kelly Clarkson to win this.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
First of all, I have no idea what money is. And second of all, I love Kelly Clarkson.
I would watch American Idol and I would call the number to vote for these people.
For some reason that was free, but I never did that. My sibling did, but I never did that.
Maybe in the beginning it was free, but I do know for a fact that the texting ones, which I also did, were not free.
Yeah, but I wonder if they got that money or if it just charged like that was your phone company charging your parents on the phone bill.
Maybe. But all I know is that I did it and I did it a lot.
No regrets.
I do not have any regrets. Except when the person didn't win, then I regretted that.
Yeah, you're like,
I was like, I didn't do it enough.
I should have done it more. So clearly they were both very disappointed in themselves. They both loved trivia so much. And they were actually even working on a book together all about how to get onto Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh my gosh.
So they knew like what time you should call the hotline. They were like on forums online that were talking about like, these are the questions that they're asking this month. Because they would ask you like a random trivia question, like a really hard random one. But they only had like, let's say 30 questions. And so people will go on and be like, well, this is the question they asked me and this is the answer. Like if anybody else is trying to get on the show or whatever, I already failed or whatever. Or if you get this question, answer this way or whatever. So they were like, we're going to write this book. We both got on. Clearly we know how to do it.
Yeah. And wait, they're a couple or they're siblings?
They're siblings.
Okay.
But the rules state that you can only be on the show one time. So their chances of winning big had fallen to 0. And this was a blow for sure, especially for Diana. Her husband, who was Major Charles Ingram, they were in somewhere between 25 to 45,000 in debt.
Probably from all the fucking
all
times
the phone
you
called. All those phone bills are adding up, man. And clearly they thought £1 million would help a lot more than 32,000.
Yeah, what did you do with that money?
So you see, The couple and their children decided to take a vacation after this loss. Well, they won $32,000. But when they returned home, things only got worse. As soon as they pulled onto their street, they see that their furniture is on their front lawn. So they park the car, tell the kids to stay in the car. They have 3 children. They race inside and they realize that they had been robbed.
Oh, shit.
Everything was gone. Thousands of pounds of jewelry, electronics, special family keepsakes, all gone in a flash. And, well, this is a horrible, horrible circumstance. But thankfully, Diane had recently, I don't know if her name was Diane or Diana. I saw it both ways, but you get it. Had recently won $32,000, right?
Wow, imagine if she won the million.
She had technically won the money. But not long after the show, one of her siblings had approached her with a sob story about how their business was failing. And Diane had decided to reinvest about half of what she earned into her sibling's business, hoping to be paid back before her husband noticed. But the business still ended up failing and the money was just gone.
Oh, shit.
So this left the Ingrams in an incredibly bad spot because they hadn't paid off any of their debt and now they had just been robbed.
That is just, I mean, we've talked about it before when we've covered like the lottery scam story and stuff. When people know that you won money and they come out of the woodwork being like, oh, can I have some? Like, no, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
I won this shit.
That's why I was telling you when we talked about that and you were like, I would immediately give like X amount of money to this person, X amount of money to that person. I'm like, no, never give people cash because then they're going to be like, oh, I can just go to Amanda for cash whenever I need it.
Yeah.
You like give them gifts like, hey, I paid off your house. Or like, hey, I bought you a new car because I know you need a car.
Mm-hmm.
And you also don't tell them you won the lottery. You say things like, I got a bonus at work.
Yeah.
So they don't think like it's endless money. For some reason, people hear like lottery or like winning things and they're like, oh, endless money.
Yeah. But it's like
money.
you only won a specific amount.
Yeah. And like even if you win like $1 million or £1 million, like that's I mean, this is also in the early 2000s. So very different than now. Like $1 million now after taxes. Like, that would be awesome.
It doesn't even get you a house here.
But it wouldn't even buy you a house. Yeah.
No.
It would give you a really good down payment.
Yeah.
That's
even
like,
a tiny house in California.
Well, that's like what I was talking about with people were giving Heidi and Spencer shit about Heidi saying that she was house poor, which I don't know if you guys know what that means, but it just means you put literally all the money that you had, like all of your liquid equity went into purchasing the house. And then so all of your net worth is literally in the home. You can get loans off of the home. You can, refinance all of these things, but you don't have anything really liquid. You might have like a couple thousand or even a couple dozen thousand. But like, once again, that runs out very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. House poor. It's a real thing. And it scares me bad. Because I would like to have a house.
I was going to say, we don't have houses, so it's fine.
No, like I would like to have a house, but like that idea scares me. Like having all of my liquid income invested into something and then having to like, I don't know, just scary. It's scary.
Yeah.
But people do it all the time and it works out for them sometimes. All right. So obviously they're in a bad financial spot, the Ingrams are, but it's no problem because Diane has the perfect plan. I just looked it up. It's Diana.
Diana. Okay.
I always do that with names. Like if I see it wrong once, I can never figure out which one's supposed to be the right one again.
It's so close.
It's so close.
Diane and Diana, you're so close.
Yeah. So Diana had a perfect plan. So her idea was to train her very smart husband, who's a high-ranking military officer, how to win Who Wants to Become a Millionaire.
I gotta know.
So obviously, her and her brother know how to get on the show. She knew he was smart, and she also knew the techniques that they use to make you slip up on the show.
Okay.
So the way, like the hot seat and like the way they have everything set up allegedly used war techniques that intentionally confused people. So even smart people would sometimes get like overwhelmed or overstimulated and confused and give the wrong answer.
Okay.
And so she's thinking, like, he's military. He's going to, like, be able to figure this out and calm himself down or whatever and get further than me and my brother because she messed up on an answer that she knew. But she just got so
Oh.
like overwhelmed that she said the wrong thing.
Okay.
And then was beating herself up about it, obviously. So she's thinking, okay, well, he can be even better prepared than us. And so even though he's not like a trivia lover like me and my brother and the rest of my family, he's smart enough that I think we can train him in a few months to like be the ultimate who wants to be a millionaire guy.
I just like I don't know. I just feel like unless you already are really smart and you know things, I don't know how you could be trained to answer any question.
Well, I mean, he is really smart.
Okay.
So, like I said, he was very supportive of his wife's kind of dorky passion, but he was not a trivia guy himself. But Diana was just convinced that between her and her brother, they were going to train him to be like the ultimate millionaire machine.
Okay. They better. And he better win the £1 million.
So they start with the calls. And like I said, they have a system. They know what time you're supposed to call. They know how long you should stay on the line. And they start calling into this line every single day, asking the random or answering the random trivia question. And you either get it right. And if you get it right, they either call you back or they don't.
Okay.
So the brother and sister duo, they knew what time to call, what kind of questions were going to be asked, and the most efficient method to get picked. Meanwhile, Adrian, the brother, he constructed what was called a fast finger machine, which was a replica of the final round that picks the contestants that they use on the show. So I don't know if you remember this. I also don't know if this is just a UK thing or if it was also in the US, but they would have like 4 or 5 potential contestants lined up, and then they would all be like, okay, go to the fast finger machine, and they would ask you one question, and it would be something like, put these words in alphabetical order.
Yeah, they did that on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, and it would be a bunch of random words, and it would be like carrot, fish, zebra, whatever. And you'd have to like did it as fast as you can. And whoever did it fastest is who got to be next on the show.
Yes.
So he literally replicated this machine, made a fast finger machine, and would make Charles work on it for 20 minutes a day, just testing a bunch of different ways and techniques to just make his mind faster.
Okay. And they are saying if you get on there and you win the $1 million, that you have to split it with them.
No, they just want him on there.
Oh, they. Okay.
I mean, it's his wife. What do you mean split it? Yeah, I mean, it's his wife.
Oh, okay.
But the brother and the whole family was just obsessed with the show.
They were
just excited. They just wanted someone to win.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's funnier.
So basically, he gets so good at this machine that if he does make it to the final 4 or whatever, who gets to go on, that he's going to be the next contestant on the show. He gets so good at the fast finger machine.
Really fast with his fingers.
Really, really fast.
Yeah.
So they are putting in the work. And on September 8th, they get a call from the producer and they're like, hey, can you come in tomorrow? We want you for the show.
That's right, baby. They said, we had this down to a science.
Yes. And I'm sure it also didn't hurt that his wife had been on the show before and lost. And also, for storyline wise, that he was a military personnel.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, of course, they're completely shocked, but they're super excited. They rush to call out of work for the next day. They get a babysitter. They're trying to cover all of their bases. And I'm sure he was on a few final rounds of fastest fingers. And the next day, on September 9th, they head into the Millionaire Studios for the 3rd time.
Okay.
Charles, Diana, and Diana's brother Adrian all attend the screening. So obviously they're sat in the audience, who you don't really see very much. But
except when they pan to their loved ones.
They will. They do it.
And then they wave.
And they go,
hi, it's me. And they probably were eating up the fact that Diana had been on it before.
Oh, absolutely. It's a storyline. It's a narrative at this point. And right now, so when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire first came out in the UK, it was the most popular TV show across the board. The most popular show. 1/3 of Britons watched it.
Wow.
So that's pretty good. But recently, because of people like Diana and her brother, it had become a lot less organically fun. So the whole point, I guess, of the original TV show was to combat, like, BBC was like a very upper middle class channel, and they were trying to do a more like working class thing, right? But because it was all these like dorks and nerds who figured out the system to get on the show, they were not interesting random people anymore. But also, like, you're the ones who made it that way to get on the show, where you're like solving puzzles to get on the show.
And you're making it a lot. Like, you have to answer a lot of questions, go through a lot of interviews.
And you're charging them money to be on the phone to call you to go on. So, like, obviously you're not going to get just like lower working class people.
Well, they're like, how are we going to get that £1 million?
Yeah. Well, and I guess so more and more people were winning more and more money because these dorks had figured out kind of the formula.
Gotta love a good dork.
Gotta love a good dork. So, of course, they get him up there. He soars through fastest fingers and ends up in the hot seat, ready to compete for £1 million.
Hell yeah. What's his name?
Charles. So the start of Charles's millionaire run is, to put it lightly, abysmal.
Okay.
Literally, the first question is a pop culture question, which should be like a super easy softball, right? Like, we've all seen the show. The first question is always like, oh, who wouldn't get that? Right? And he cannot figure it out and ends up using one of his 3 lifelines to answer the first question.
Charles!
He says, I know nothing about pop culture. I literally have no idea who any of these people even are. Never heard of any of them.
Who sang the song Thriller?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Like, and everyone's like, are you kidding? So he uses the Ask an Audience feature where he gets to poll the audience to see what they think. And luckily for him, they're all like, hello, we clearly love reality TV. So we know the answer to this.
You're fucking stupid already.
And they are right. And he uses it. So he kind of limps forward 2 more questions. He uses another lifeline.
Oh my God, Charles.
The phone a friend lifeline. He uses it. And then the big comes on and they say, we have to cut you off there and we'll finish tomorrow. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Who did he phone?
I don't know. I would assume his wife. I would hope, because she's the
I thought she was
lady.
there.
Yeah, I'm sure you could phone.
You can't.
Oh, you can't?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you know the rules. I'm impressed.
I used to watch it.
I'm very impressed. Me too, but not as studiously as you, apparently. So they, as you guys know, they do like usually 1.5 contestants a day, sometimes 3 if people really suck. But so they had to cut him off when he was just at the 4,000 question. So like barely anything.
Bro, what is wrong with you?
So this is not looking great, obviously. The executives are like, this guy fucking sucks. He's going to lose. Where's the next lineup? Let's get everybody else like ready to go.
Yeah, we need some people stat.
Yeah. But the next day, Charles Ingram comes in and he says he has a brand new strategy. Not only is he going to talk through all of his thought process, but he's also going to second guess his first instinct.
Okay.
So at one point, he's asked a question about city planning, and it's whether or not this particular architect designed or city planned which city. And the cities are like Germany, Paris, London, somewhere in Spain that I can't think of right now. Barcelona. And he immediately has a first response and he says, oh, it has to be Germany. But then he stops himself and he kind of tells the host, like, well, as you know, my first instincts tend to be wrong. So I'm going to go with my second instinct and I'm going to go with Paris. Ding, ding, ding. Correct.
Okay.
So this is his new strategy. He's not only going to talk through his thought process a little bit more, because before he was just so like worked up that he would just say whatever was his first instinct, right? But then you realize my first instinct is not right, because whenever I phoned a friend or I used whatever, it didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point he has to use the narrow it down.
It's 50-50.
50-50. And it gets narrowed down to 2 options. And one of the options was his first instinct. And the other option was something he'd never heard of.
Of course.
And he goes, I'm going to go with the one I've never heard of. And that was correct. So he's like, okay, I'm going with my second. Like, I'm not going with my first instinct anymore. Clearly, my first instinct is wrong because I'm too nervous. Basically.
He said, don't trust your gut.
Yes, exactly. Once again, no women's intuition, am I right? So this is his new strategy, and he goes like systematically through this. He's speaking through every single one, and he ends up making it all the way to the $1 million question.
How the fuck did he do that?
I know. Now he's given the choice. If you leave, which you can do, Amanda knows. She knows.
I do know.
He would get $500,000.
I would leave.
But if
so hard.
But if he gets the answer wrong, he only gets $32,000.
Yeah. Goodbye.
So he sits there for a while and he decides he is going to go for the $1 million question.
Charles, I fear you've made a mistake.
So this is where I'm going to be, and I'm so sorry. You can make fun of me all you want for this, you guys. I'm going to be so pretentious. When I first heard that this was his $1 million question, I was like, this is the easiest question that has ever existed. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Because I read through all of his questions, and like, I would say probably like half of them were like, okay, pretty easy. I'm also, I love trivia, so I'm like a trivia girl.
I was going to say, easy for you.
But like, this is one
people.
where like, I would be very surprised if like most people couldn't answer it correctly.
If you read me this question right now and I don't know the answer, I'm going to punch you in the face.
Okay, so he decides to go for his $1 million question, and his $1 million question is, a number 1 followed by 100 zeros is known by what name? And let me tell you, I knew the answer. I think you will too. Okay.
Wait.
A, do you want to guess?
Hold on. A number 1
followed by 100 zeros is known by what name? God, I would be a good announcer. That was a really good cadence I had right there. Is known by what name?
A number 1.
But you get options.
Oh, yeah. What are my options?
A, Google. B, Megatron. C, Gigabit. Or D, Nanomole.
Okay. The fact that you think this is easy is alarming.
I'm going to explain to you why it's easy once you want the answer.
A number 1 followed by 100 zeros.
Yes.
Number 1. I feel like this is a trick question.
A, Google. B, Megatron. C, Gigabit. Or D, Nanomole. Or Nanomole. Do you want to hear his thought process?
Yeah. And then can I give what my guess would be?
Here, give your guess first.
Okay. So like my first instinct.
Yes.
Would be Google because I don't know.
Correct.
Oh.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. It's the easiest fucking question ever.
Okay. Because that's the only thing I really know.
Well, Google is named, but it's spelled Googol. So it's not spelled like Google, obviously, because it had to be its own company.
Yeah.
But like that's the origins of Google. And I just thought people knew the origins of Google.
No, I need an explanation for that.
Oh, okay. So he talks through it out loud. His initial instinct, he says, is Nanomole, but he's not sure. And because of his new strategy, after sweating his butt off, he's very sweaty, by the way. You can see clips. He's sweating through that polo like it's his job, man.
It's like Tom Sandoval on The Traitors.
Seriously, who is that sweaty guy? He ends up going with Google, which is the correct answer.
Okay. So, I need to know why.
So at this, because it's a very large number, and the point of like a Google search is that you could find endless answers to whatever question you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
A Google is a number?
Yes, it's 100 followed, or it's a 1 followed by 100 zeros. So 1 0 0 0 0 0, like that's how big the number is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That would just be my first instinct because that's the only one.
Because you've heard of it. Yeah. So at this point, the producers are not only annoyed because someone won, because that cost them $1 million or pounds, whatever. He was only the third person to do so, by the way, at this point. But they were also suspicious because how did this guy who was bombing so hard yesterday come in with this new strategy and suddenly win the highest prize?
I have a weird feeling. Can I guess?
Yes.
That he's like looking into the crowd at his sister and she's doing like
at
a
his
tell.
wife.
Or at his wife, and she's doing like a tell.
I know it's confusing because there's a brother and sister,
Yeah.
but there's also a
husband and wife. Yeah. So he's looking at his wife for the answers. And when he says, he's thinking out loud, right? So when he says something, she taps like her face or something.
Okay.
Like in poker.
Got it. Yeah. Like if someone's looking at your cards or whatever. Okay. Rod Taylor, who was an executive producer, said, quote, "It became obvious that he wasn't under the pressure that he should have been under somehow. He should have been very, very careful and very certain. And he certainly wasn't either of those things." So obviously the producers immediately are extremely, what's the word I'm looking? Suspicious of his win. So him and his wife, of course, are celebrating. There's confetti and balloons. They give them a check for £1 million and everyone is partying and so excited. Some people did report that the couple seemed like they were fighting in their dressing room when the host came in with champagne to give them a champagne toast. But other than that, nothing seemed that suspicious. But because of the suspicions raised by the executive producers, both Diana and Charles were searched, like their entire bodies, their hair, their clothes, everything were searched before they left. But nothing suspicious was found, and the couple headed home.
Okay.
Right away, the production company starts scrambling. They're looking for ways that Charles and Diana could have been cheating. At first, they're like, maybe he had some sort of device on him that would vibrate for a correct answer or something like that. The producers end up going back through all the tapes, and a sound guy notices a very subtle background noise that he thought could make a difference.
Oh my God. Okay.
So when they go through all of the tape, they notice that Diana did have a bit of a coughing fit during one of the questions, which was cut out, but that there were 19 distinctly timed coughs that correlated with correct answers being spoken by Charles as he, quote unquote, worked through his process.
Why would the coughing be the thing that you do, Diana?
It wasn't Diana who was coughing.
Adrian.
It was one of the other potential contestants, Tequin Whittick.
Oh, we got a
mystery man on our hands.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Obviously, nobody knows that this is going on at this point, including Charles and Diana. And it gets leaked to the media that there is another $1 million winner. And like I said, this is only the third time this has happened since the show aired. And this is one of the most popular TV shows in the United Kingdom. So the next day when they wake up, there are reporters calling their house and paparazzi on their lawn, but they keep their mouths shut because they know that they can't come out and claim that they were victorious or that he was victorious until the episode airs, and that won't be for a few more days. Another day goes by and boom, 9/11 jump scare.
Oh no, why do you always have these?
Remember when I said that he recorded on September 8th, 2001?
Yes.
Well, now it is September 11th, 2001.
Dude, you always have these in your stories.
I know. Now the news of a winner goes by the wayside, as obviously everybody is talking about the terrorist attack that happened in the United States and the Twin Towers going down. At this point, the producers call him and they let him know that they are not going to be airing his episode yet. And everyone kind of assumes it's because of 9/11. They're like, okay, well, we can't have like this joyous episode about me winning £1 million when there's just this massive terrorist attack against one of our closest allies. But meanwhile, Diana goes and deposits the check into their bank account.
Dang, they got that check fast.
They gave them like a real check, like the day that they left.
Wow.
Yeah. But little did he know the reason that they were not going to air his episode is because the producers thought that he had cheated.
Oh boy.
And 8 days after his appearance on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Charles, his wife Diana, and Tequin Whittick were all arrested for fraud. They were all tried together, and this ended up with some drama. So in the courtroom, they played a tape of all the different coughs and the correct answers happening. And that was like one of the biggest pieces of evidence for the prosecution. But when the jury went to go convict them, they came out after 13 hours and said, hey, so we can't convict Diana. We're not convinced she's even involved. Tequin and Charles are the only two that are like, we can see in this tape that have like physical evidence that they were involved, because there's no other physical evidence found that these people had been communicating or how they even had the answers, anything like that.
Yeah.
But the judge explains to them that they either have to convict none of them or all of them. And just a little bit later, they come out and they give all three of them a guilty sentence.
What?
Yes.
How? But they weren't even able to connect them together.
Yeah. So all three are given a guilty sentence. They're given parole and very heavy fines. Charles has to leave his job with the military that he very much loved. I read in some sources that he was dishonorably discharged, which means you like don't get any benefits or anything like that. And he was completely disgraced and embarrassed. As he would walk around town, people would cough at him and do loud coughs. Eggs were thrown at Diana and their children.
Not the children.
And they were unable to make money anyway other than debasing themselves. And so they ended up on shows like Wife Swap and The Weakest Link, where they were continually used as the butt of jokes about coughing.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
So they actually even called him Major Cough because he was a major in the military.
Damn.
And that became his nickname in the media. Even when you look at like the Vice article and stuff, that's basically what they refer to him on. Major Charles Ingram, or the coughing major. When he was on The Weakest Link, one of the answers to one of his questions was cough. A lot of people, as time went on, began to think that maybe there was a miscarriage of justice. So there was a book released that was called Bad Show by Bob Waffenden and James Plaskett. And this kind of went over both sides of the arguments between the prosecution and the defense. And they found a lot of issues with what the prosecution was saying. First of all, it turns out that the tape that was shown in the courtroom was actually tampered with by the production company. It was not the raw tape. They had isolated the coughing noises and amped them up. And there are also other allegations that they might have even tampered with the timing of some of the coughs.
What?
Yeah. Another question that people had, and that was brought up during the trial, is that how could Charles have just figured all this stuff out and used this new strategy to be a better test taker? But Charles was literally in Mensa.
What's that? So
Mensa is a group that you can only be in if you have an IQ that is higher than 98% of people on Earth, or that have taken the IQ test, obviously. So Mensa is a super elite, very smart group to be a part of. He was not just a very clever guy. He was extremely intelligent, a great problem solver. And so his new strategy of understanding how his brain works and how to answer questions, it's kind of like how sometimes you might not know all the material, but you might be a good test taker, and it makes you get an A even though you didn't study. Which, that's me. I'm like a wonderful test taker.
Oh, God. I am the worst test taker. I kind of resonated a little bit with Diana in the beginning, because when I was taking tests, like I could have known an answer and I still get it wrong because I'm too nervous.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of people are good at the power of deduction. And when he was talking through it, they even asked him, well, why did you start talking through your answers out loud and start saying the answers out loud? And he was like, well, first I thought it would make better TV. And second, I thought, well, if I can actually deduce what the answer might be, like speaking out loud is probably better than just sweating and being alone with my thoughts.
Yeah, that's the mark of a good reality television star.
Yeah. And then it turns out that Whittick tested positive for hay fever and asthma and had a recurrent cough for most of his adult life.
This man was just sick.
He was just sick. And it turns out while they were talking about coughing at the trial, just the mention of coughing and bringing up coughing made many of the jurors experience coughing fits during the trial, because there is like a almost sympathetic response, like kind of with sneezing, where when you talk about something so often, you start to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So obviously these are all factors that make you think, that's really weird. Also, they were offered $600,000 to go on TV and admit that they faked this, and they refused. They're like, we did not do it. To this day, they totally deny that they cheated or anything and that he deserves his 1 million.
Wow.
Because if you just were trying to scam, why would you not just take the 600,000 and say, like, go on and be like, look how smart we are. We almost scammed Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But
Yeah.
instead they wanted to maintain their integrity and refused.
Did they get to keep the million?
No.
Oh, yeah, then definitely.
Yeah.
That's even more proof.
So that book, Bad Show, inspired a play that was written by James Graham that was called Quiz. And Quiz, like I said, re-examined the events of this whole situation. The first half really focuses on the prosecution, and the second half focuses on the defense. Before the show starts, and I just feel like this is so crazy, they have a little keypad in the audience, like it's Ask the Audience.
Oh my gosh.
And they ask what percentage of people think that they are guilty and what percentage think that they are innocent. So after the first act, they ask, and usually it's about 75% to 25% think guilty over innocent.
Wow.
And then once the defense is brought out and give and they give that whole perspective of all of that other side of the story that they feel like was kind of brushed under the rug, it usually drastically swaps to the other side. Yeah, which I just think what a crazy interactive way
fun.
to do theater.
Yeah.
In 2019, Graham adapted his play into a serial drama for ITV, which is actually the network that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was on.
Nice.
And that was broadcast in April 2020. It had 3 separate parts. And the person who played our beautiful coughing major was actually Matthew McFadden, who you might recognize from Succession as Tom Wamsgam, or also from Pride and Prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very, very accomplished actor.
Wow.
So obviously this has a little bit shifted public opinion. I would probably say, based on the stuff that I was reading, that a good 70% of people in the UK still believe that they are all fully guilty and their lives are still like definitely permanently affected and negatively, obviously. And they even said, we find it so debasing that our only options, because nobody wants to hire us, we have such bad reputation, or to go on shows like Wife Swap, where we're humiliated over and over again. And even when we're on these other shows, they can't help but bringing up the coughing incident.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like there might have been a slight miscarriage of justice in an attempt to defend this TV production company.
Number one.
Yes.
There's no fucking way they would not have been able to find a connection between Charles and the coughing guy.
Well, what's interesting to me is, even if they did, why would that coughing guy know every single answer to every single question?
Didn't you say he went on to win $1 million?
Who?
Oh, I thought the coughing guy went on to win $1 million.
No.
Oh. Well, he was just really smart then.
You think that he's randomly going to know every single answer and be able to cough it out confidently?
No, he has asthma.
Yeah, or hay fever.
But also, I'm sorry, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Don't have your show be called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire if you can't cough up the £1 million.
You heard it here first, folks.
Cough being the key word here.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know if they're completely innocent. Obviously, there's some shady weirdness, but I don't think there's nearly enough evidence to convict anybody. Give this
man his flowers. Give him the $1 million.
And he was just so, like, humiliated by all of this.
That's another thing. It's like
they said he kept bursting into tears when people would question his like moral authority or like his ethics. He would just burst into tears in the courtroom.
So here's the thing. We talk about this a lot, I feel like, in reference to paranormal cases or alien abductions, where we're like, why would this person want to go on life being humiliated, having everyone think he's a liar, making fun of him, if he didn't believe those things happened, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would you be like, yes, not only am I going to get my $1 million plucked out of my hands, but everyone is going to treat me like this for the rest of my life. Like, no, there's no way he would have taken that 600,000 to be like, hey, I did this.
Yeah, if he already lost everything, why would he
Yeah.
not take that's the thing. Pierce Morgan offered him the 600,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so it's like, why would you not take that if you already lost your military career, you already lost everything? Like if I was him, even if I didn't do it, I might go on there and say, and here's how we outsmarted them, and just make up some fantastical story. Like, you already paid the consequences. You might as well make some money off of it,
Absolutely.
you know? But like him and his wife are literally like, no, our integrity is more than this.
Which says to me that they're innocent.
Yeah, I agree.
Personally.
Yeah. So that is the crazy story of the maybe Who Wants to Be a Millionaire scandal in the UK.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So we're taking it to a whole nother level here, getting away from scammers, and we're going into a disappearance.
Alleged
they did get scammers.
They did get prosecuted.
They did, but maybe wrongfully.
You know what? I'm always up to question the narrative.
No, Cassidy. We don't know.
Also, I'm sorry about my hair, everybody. There's a lot happening here.
Your hair always looks good.
I've been having a hair crisis recently, like deeply.
Better
like one
than
of those
a mental
like,
crisis.
One of those like, oh, should I shave? Well, oh, should I shave my head? Like I hate my hair.
Yeah, don't do that.
I hate how it looks in every style. I hate how it looks straightened. I hate how it looks natural. I hate how it looks curly. And then I don't know. So I just every time I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, oh,
you know what? Shave it.
I would look like such a pool cue. I would look so bad with a
pool cue.
I would look exactly like Bobby Hill with a shaved head. I'm not giving very much chin. Actually, I'm giving too much chin, perhaps. 2 of them, you could say.
Oh my God. Okay. Don't make me laugh.
Sorry. A little levity before your true crime story.
I was going to say, before we get into something kind of sad.
Yeah.
Pretty sad. Actually, very sad. So today we're going to talk about the disappearance of Timothy Pitzen.
Okay.
I picked this one because, I mean, obviously it's quite sad. It's always sad when somebody disappears. But this one also, like, it raises a lot of questions and there's like a lot of speculation.
Okay.
Which I always find fascinating, especially when you like kind of tell me your opinions. So, we'll get into that. But my sources were an article in the New York Post by Nicholas McIntyre, NBCChicago.com, Chicago Mag by Brian Smith, the U.S. Sun by Luke Kenton, Medium.com by Charlie O'Brien, and Wikipedia. All right, so Timothy Pitzen, Timothy Pitzen was born on October 18th, 2004 in Aurora, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
You know Aurora?
Yeah.
You are from Illinois.
Yeah.
That makes sense. He is the son and only child of James and Amy Pitzen. And by all accounts, he was known to be the absolute love of both of their lives, and he just meant the world to them. So a little bit about James and Amy before we kind of go on to the disappearance. They met years prior at a party, and they immediately fell for each other. Amy, at the time, had just gotten out of a failed marriage. So she's recently divorced, and the first year of her and James' like relationship that they got into was long distance. I don't know if that's because like she had to move things out of her old house with her ex-husband or whatnot, but they did have a year-long long distance relationship.
Okay.
So during this time, Amy was in a bit of a dark place mentally. She was just dealing with like the divorce and all that stuff, and it put her in a really like, you know, rough patch. But James loved her so much that he was like, I am going to help her. I'm going to be there for her. Like, we're going to get through this together. I just love her that much. I want to help her overcome this.
Yeah, I want to be her rock. I mean, if you're a good partner, that's how you should feel.
So the following year, the two of them get married. And right off the bat, things are kind of rocky for them.
Okay.
So they start fighting a lot. They're fighting a lot about like finances and just like your typical marriage kind of stuff. But they ultimately realize like, hey, we love each other. We're going to stay together. Like, we're going to get through this because love conquers all, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it does.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Praise the Lord.
Praise be to God. But maybe not love for your partner. Maybe that doesn't conquer all, but love for your child certainly should.
Yes.
So in 2004, Amy gets pregnant, and it kind of seems like this started to help Amy's mental state a little bit. She seemed to be very overwhelmed by happiness and love that she felt for this new little baby that she had. And she loved being a mother. Like, all of this was just like very exciting for her. And it seemed like she was in a better place than she had been years prior.
Got it. Okay.
But after some time, the relationship between James and Amy just started to get bad again. It was really toxic. And at one point, James finds out that Amy is like texting or talking to or hitting up her ex-husband and like spending time with him.
Not cool. I've known so many relationships end because of that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm firmly in the you can't be friends with your ex's clan.
Listen, unless you have a kid with your ex and you have to communicate to like drop off your kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't be like hanging out with them on the daily. So something I do want to add just for more context of Amy is that when I say she's texting her ex, it could be any 3 men because James was Amy's 4th husband.
Oh.
I do feel like that is important just in context to the rest of the story.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So we don't even know which one it was?
No.
Okay.
So it's very clear that Amy did suffer from like depression, which she did regularly take medication for by now.
Good for her.
So I am assuming, this is just my opinion, that her mental state maybe probably played a role in the downfall of some of her marriages. But once again, that's just my like speculation. I don't know, but that's just what I would assume. But now it's definitely playing a downfall in her and James's relationship. So when James finds out that Amy is like, you know, talking to her ex and trying to hang out with him and stuff, he's obviously really pissed off. He's like, what the hell is going on here? Like, we're literally married with a kid.
Yeah.
So he threatens to divorce her and take full custody of Timothy. And regardless of somebody's mental state, if anyone tries to, you know, threaten or take away the most precious thing in your life that you love more than anything in the world, you are going to have some kind of reaction to it.
Yes, of course.
That is how most people, I would assume, would feel. And she obviously freaks out and is like, oh my God, like he's going to take Timothy away from me.
Yeah.
And I can't have that.
Yeah.
So in the like couple of weeks that continue, Amy just like stops talking to the ex. She continues on like everything's okay with the relationship with James because she doesn't want to lose Timothy. Like that's her biggest fear in life. And little Timothy, he is just this little cute, sweet, fun-loving child who everyone seemed to enjoy being around.
And how old is he at this point?
He's 6.
Okay.
So a journalist for The Observer, her name is Hannah Sukup. She was actually Timothy's classmate in kindergarten.
Oh my goodness.
And she said that Timothy was always this like fun kid who wanted to talk to everyone. She said that she was really shy in school and Timothy immediately like would make a point to strike up conversation with her and make her feel included and make her feel good. And they actually became really good friends that year, which for a 6-year-old to do, I think is just pretty incredible. Like to be like, oh, I recognize that you're shy and I'm going to talk to you and be your friend. Like that's just really cool. So just like shows what kind of a kid Timothy was. So on the morning of May 11th, 2011, James, his father, takes him to Greenman Elementary School to drop him off at 7:30 a.m. According to James, he saw Timothy walk into the school in his little backpack, and he even turned around and they told each other that they loved each other before Timothy walked into the building. So in kindergarten, in most places in America, I know it was like this for me. I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but kindergarten is typically split into 2 time frames because they don't want kids to be in school for too long.
Yes.
Did you have that?
Mom, don't listen to this, but
I was in the morning class too. Oh no, I wasn't. I was in the afternoon class because I watched Blue's Clues in the morning.
My mom, so I was always not a morning person, even literally when I was a little kid, little baby. And so my mom forced me in the morning class thinking, oh, this will retrain her into being a morning person. It didn't. It made me hate mornings more than ever, ever, ever before. I remember waking up feeling nauseous every single day, having to wake up. And now look at me, mother.
Now look at her, mother.
Look what you've done to me.
Now she literally can't wake up.
Genuinely, I wake up at 10 a.m. every single day, and that's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I love you.
No, I for some reason I thought I was in the morning, but no, I was definitely in the afternoon because I would always watch Blue's Clues before I had to go to kindergarten. Yeah.
If only.
And I was able to like sit and like eat my little meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not me. I was rolling up just hair like this. So it likes to stand up on its own. My hair does, like professionally. And then just probably so much Dorito dust.
Yeah, probably.
I loved Doritos.
Everyone
still
loves
do.
Doritos.
Still a big fan.
So Timothy, his class was the morning class, obviously, like whether it's like 8 to 11 and then the next class was 11 to 3. That's typically how it is in America.
How do you guys do it in your country? Let us know.
I would love to know because that's why I say America, because I don't know. Obviously, every country is different.
Yeah.
So by the afternoon, James comes back to school to pick up Timothy and bring him to daycare for the rest of the day. I assume it's like the rest of his work day because it's not a full day of school. So when he gets there, the school tells him that Timothy isn't there. So James is like, what do you mean he's not here? And they let him know that he had been picked up around 8:30 that morning. So literally like an hour after James dropped him off.
Yeah.
By his mother, Amy.
Okay. And they're separated at this point, or they're still together?
They're still together.
Okay. So it's even stranger.
Yes. So obviously, like, they never alerted James about this because they know Amy very well. They know that that's his mother, and she walked into the school, told the office that there was a family emergency and she needed to pull Timothy out.
Okay.
So even though James is like a little alarmed at like the fact that he has no idea about this family emergency situation,
he assumes the best.
Yeah, he's still like, okay, well, you know, Timothy's with Amy. Amy loves him.
His literal mother.
Yeah, like she loves him literally more than anything in this entire world. So I'm not too concerned. So he decides he's just going to drive home and check to see if they're there. Obviously, they're not there. So he starts to call her frantically and she's not picking up the phone. So he immediately gets in his car. He drives over to her workplace and they're like, yeah, Amy's not here. She actually never came into work at all today. So now James is like really starting to panic.
Okay.
He immediately starts to call Amy's parents, both of them, and neither one of them has any idea where she is. They're like, we haven't heard from her or talked to her recently. So James is really, really freaking out now. He's like, this is not a good sign.
Yeah.
Allegedly, I don't know if this is true or not. I read this in one source. They did say that James opened the medicine cabinet at the house and noticed that her medication was still in the cabinet. And that made him spiral even more, being like, oh, she doesn't have her like anxiety, depression medication.
So it was like something that she would have to take regularly throughout the day, not just like once a day.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like medication that she always had to take.
No, I know. What I'm asking is like, there's a difference between like a medication you have to take every morning.
Oh, I mean, regardless. Yeah. Even if it was once a day, that still made him be like, I don't know how long she's going to be.
Okay.
So it was something that he like was like, oh no, like if they went somewhere, she doesn't have her medication. Like if I'm not going to see her for a couple days, like his immediate reaction was, she's mad at me about something because they fought all the time.
Okay. And so she went to go stay with friends or family. Oh no, she didn't take her meds.
And if she's gone even for the night, she doesn't have her medication.
No, that makes more sense because like at first I'm like, what is it like? You know, there's sometimes people need like heart pills or whatever that like if they have a flare up, they have to take it right then and there. So I didn't know what kind of pill it was.
No, it was definitely like anxiety, depression medication. Once again, I only read this one place, so I don't even know if it's true or not.
Got it. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to harp on it.
No, it's I get it because that's what I'm saying. I want to harp on the fact that I only read it one place. Yeah. So if it's not true, then I only saw it one place.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's kind of like a big deal.
Yeah.
So once again, James, he definitely did not think that Amy would ever harm Timothy because he was like, she loves him more than anything in this entire world. So he's like, I'm very certain that Timothy would be okay in Amy's care. And that's why he was thinking maybe she's just mad at me because like I did, kind of say like, I'm going to divorce you and take custody of James. Like that was a recent conversation. And he claims, I just said that out of anger. Obviously, I wasn't going to actually take custody of Timothy. Like I was just mad. I was really mad at the time.
Yeah.
So he's thinking maybe she needs some space for the night. And that's why he can't get in touch with her. She's not answering his calls. But he's also like, every time that they've gotten into a fight like this, she will go off and drive around like for a couple hours, but usually she's alone. She's never taken Timothy. So that's another reason why he's kind of like, this is really weird.
Especially since he was already in school. It's not like he was with her and she kept him.
Right. Like she took him out of school an hour after he was dropped off. Took him out of school.
Yeah, it seemed very planned.
Yeah. And now he's starting to think like, okay, like what if she just like takes him, disappears from me because she thought I was going to take him and like take custody of him, and she's freaking out. So now she's taking him away from me and I'm never going to see him again.
Yeah.
So now it's been like several hours at this point, and he has called her multiple times. He has not heard from her. The parents are trying to keep him updated. They have not heard from her, and he's really, really scared. So later that day, James just like, he's had enough. He can't take it anymore. He's freaking out that he can't get in touch with her. And he calls the police to file a missing persons report on Timothy.
Okay.
And of course, to no surprise, I'm sure, the police basically tell him like, hey,
he's with his mom, right?
He's with his mom. We really aren't too concerned. Like, that's his mother. What's the worst that could happen? And also, we really like to wait about 24 hours before we put out any sort of Amber Alert to start to look for him, which I looked up, and there is no time limit.
There is no time limit. They just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, I guess if a police officer tells you it's our like policy to wait 24 hours, that is not true.
And also, I mean, it could be their policy, but that's not the law. So that means you can say, well, that's too bad. I still want it to go out.
Yeah, like you can force them to immediately file a missing persons report. That is not
true
at all.
Even on adults.
Yeah.
Even on adults, you don't have to wait 48 hours. They might tell you, oh, just wait 48 hours. No, you can literally file a missing persons report immediately.
And what do they say? It's like the first 24 hours are the most crucial.
First 48. After 48 hours,
yeah.
If someone's been missing, the chances of you finding them goes down to like almost zero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or finding them alive at least.
Yeah. So 2 days later, on May 13th, Amy calls her mom. And she's like, hey, just wanted to check in. I have Timothy. We're good. We're safe. Everything's fine. Like, don't worry about us. She's like, oh my gosh. Like, literally, we haven't heard from you in 2 days. Like, what are you doing?
Also, everyone's looking for you.
Everyone's looking for you. She's like, no. Don't worry. Like, we're safe. I promise. Like, everything's going to be fine. Her second phone call she makes that day is to her brother-in-law, James's brother. And she's also says, like, the first thing she says is, I have Timothy. We're both safe. We're both okay. But she ends the phone call saying, Tim is my son. I can do what I want. Timothy belongs to me.
Okay.
And of course she didn't call her husband James. She calls
his brother and her mom.
Yeah. So police were able to trace the calls, and they found that they were coming from an area outside of Sterling, Illinois, which was about an hour and a half away from Aurora. But that was the last place that the police were able to track Amy, because it seemed like she turned her cell phone off after that. So the next day, on May 14th, the police informed James that they have found Amy. And she had taken her own life at the Rockford Inn in Rockford, Illinois. Her body had been found by one of the staff members at the hotel, and she was found with a note that basically said she was really sorry for the mess that she had created, and that Timothy was with people that would take care of him and keep him safe, but he will never be found.
Yes.
Multiple letters saying the exact same thing as the note that was found with her body were sent to his mother, or to her mother, James, and her best friend. So it seemed like she had obviously been planning this entire thing out for quite some time. But the question is, where's Timothy? So the knife that Amy used to kill herself was found with a lot of blood on it, and they tested it and they only found Amy's blood, not Timothy's. So they were like, okay,
Good start, at
that's
least.
good. Like, at least Timothy, there's a good chance he's alive. So now the police are finally like diving into this investigation, and they figure out what exactly happened in the days leading up to this situation. So they discovered that the morning of May 11th, Amy and Timothy went to a car repair shop to drop off her car after she obviously, got him out of school early.
Yeah.
And then one of the staff members from that car repair shop drove Amy and Timothy to the Brookfield Zoo, which I thought was odd, but like nobody ever like mentions who this staff member
Like, were they
is.
friends or?
Yeah, like, does he know them? Like, why did he drive them there?
Yeah, that's
that,
so
to me is
weird.
very weird. See, I'm not a police officer, but that to me is something I would question, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, who's this person?
Yeah.
But they spend the whole day at the zoo, and then they go back to the repair shop to pick up her car at 3 p.m. Once again, was the person there with them at the zoo the whole day? Did he drive them back? Like, who is this person?
Yeah, did he go pick them up when they were done, or?
I need to know who this person is. Nobody ever talks about who this person is, and that just is like mind-blowing to me. So from there, Amy and Timothy, they pop over to the Key Lime Cove Resort, and that's where they spend a night, and there's a water park there. And Timothy allegedly loved water parks, so they just had like a blast going down all the water slides and hanging out, and they were there overnight. Then the next morning, they check out of that resort and they head over to another resort called the Kalahari Resort. And this is where police find surveillance footage of both Amy and Timothy walking through the hallways and checking in at the front desk. And according to police, everything seen in these videos were very normal. No one seemed distressed. No one seemed worried about anything. It was like very just a casual,
yeah, it wasn't like
scene.
Nobody's looking frantic or anything.
Yeah,
weird.
it was just like very normal. They checked out of this resort on May 13th, and that's when they drove up to Sterling, which is where she made those 2 phone calls to her mom and the brother-in-law. And the brother-in-law stated that he heard Timothy in the background of the call, and he was saying like, "Oh, Mom, I'm hungry. I'm really hungry." So he knew Timothy was still with her and alive at this point on May 13th.
Yes.
However, the next time Amy was seen on surveillance camera was at the Family Dollar in Winnebago, Illinois at 7:25 p.m. And this was on the 13th of that day. She bought paper, envelopes, and a pen, obviously to write those letters, and she was alone. Timothy was not seen with her.
Okay.
At 8 p.m., she was seen at Sullivan's food store in Winnebago, and again, Timothy was not with her. She checked into the Rockford Inn at 11:15 p.m., and by noon the next day, the hotel staff found her body.
Okay. And do they know how long she'd been dead for?
I mean, anywhere between when she checked in and noon the next day.
I didn't know if the autopsy report said like, oh, she'd been dead for 4 hours.
I didn't see anything like
Okay.
that. But all we know for facts is that the morning of May 13th, on the phone, the brother-in-law heard Timothy was with her, and by 7:25 p.m. that night, he was not with her.
Okay, but she went to a food store.
Mm-hmm. And he was not seen on the surveillance footage there either.
Okay. Do we know what she bought there?
Well, I'll kind of talk about a little bit of things that she bought.
Okay.
I don't know if it was at that specific food store though.
Okay.
So the police also found out that Amy had made this trip to Rockford twice before this incident occurred. According to her family members and James, they were like, we don't know anyone in Rockford. We don't know who Amy would know in Rockford. So once again, this is kind of pointing to that she had planned this for quite some time.
And what year is this again?
This is 2011.
Okay, so it's like technology's hip hap happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
But once again, there is still no trace of Timothy anywhere. So now suspicions are obviously like the first thing you think of. Amy did something to Timothy.
Yeah, of course.
But her car was still in the parking lot at the Rockford Inn. So the police thoroughly search her car. They search her bank accounts. And they discovered that the day before, Amy had bought a bunch of toys, clothes, and even toothpaste for Timothy. And when her car was searched, none of these things were found.
Okay.
Timothy's backpack that he was last seen with was also never found. And his car seat was missing from the car. Now, allegedly, the grandmother came forward and said that she was the one who has the car seat because she was watching him last and never gave the car seat back, which means that Amy had been driving around with 6-year-old Timothy
Just had him in there.
in the car without him in anything.
Yeah.
But once again, this is an indication to people. They're immediately going, oh, okay. Based on all this evidence, she like handed him off to somebody or
gave supplies even.
Yeah, and gave like toys and clothes and toothpaste for him. Like she just gave him to somebody.
Yeah.
So the clothes that she was seen in the seen wearing in the surveillance footage from the resorts and at the stores were also different than what she was wearing when her body was found. But those clothes were also never found or located at all. So it's like, did she give her clothes to somebody? Like, where are all these things?
Or she, I don't know, needed to get rid of some evidence.
Yeah, or that. So the police continue to search, but literally nothing is coming up for them. And they could not figure out what happened to Timothy or where he was. 2 years go by. And in 2013, they end up finding Amy's cell phone, and it's an hour away from the Rockford Inn, which once again, she drove up to Sterling. They tracked her location, and then her phone cut off. So she might have just thrown it into the woods. I don't know. But they end up searching her phone records for anything that could be connected to Timothy's whereabouts, and they found nothing, and they were at a dead end with this case. So Timothy's father and all of his family members, they all believe that Timothy is out there. He's alive somewhere. He's just like living his life with somebody else. Like she just literally handed him off and was like, here, this is your son now.
Yeah.
And whoever he's with is just out there taking care of him. That's what they truly believe.
Okay.
The only thing is that if he is alive, you would think that like as he's gotten older, he would have maybe figured out who he was, like that he was maybe given away by his mom to these random people, and maybe he would have come forward and contacted his dad.
Yeah, because he was 6 in 2011. He'd be in his 20s by now.
So like you would, I with 23andMe and all these like DNA tests,
20s, right? He'd be in his 20s.
2011. I'm so bad.
We're in 25.
I'm so bad at this.
Yeah.
He'd
He'd
be 20. 20. He'd be about 20. So like social media,
well, also like you need your social security card and your
how do you get a job,
driver's license, unless to get any of that shit,
unless whoever she handed him off to like changed his name, got him like a fake, but like fake identity.
That's so hard to do nowadays. It's so hard to do.
I know, but so I feel like it's not impossible.
It's not impossible, but these people, they would have to be very sophisticated.
Yeah.
That would be crazy spiteful just because, I mean, I don't know. Maybe her husband was abusive to her. Yeah.
We don't know. Like, we don't know. It is so hard to say. There is a theory that she gave him to like a Mormon or Amish family. Obviously, they say Amish because they don't have like TVs or anything like that. So
yeah.
It would be very possible for him to never know like that he was on the news or anything like that because they don't have the technology.
Yeah.
Like they don't live like that. So that's like a really big theory in this case.
Well, if they changed his name, how would he even know it's him?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then fast forward, April 3rd, 2019, a lady from Newport, Kentucky calls the police and she's like, hey, there's this like teenage boy. He's running around town. He looks suspicious. He just ran across the bridge at the Ohio River. I think you need to go like check him out. He's like doing weird stuff.
Okay.
So the police pick up the boy and he says, my name is Timothy Pitzen and I just escaped my abductors and they're at a motel.
Okay.
So there's like this crazy glimmer of hope in this case that this young boy who would now be 14 at the time is Timothy and he's come home, and the news ends up breaking out into the public, and everyone is like freaking out. Everyone's so excited. They're anxiously waiting to find out if this is actually Timothy Pitzen. And unfortunately, it was like 24 hours for the DNA tests to be done on him. And they soon discover that he is not Timothy. And he's also not even a 14-year-old boy at all. He's actually a 23-year-old man.
What is up with young looking dudes that are like, I should pretend to be someone who was abducted?
Yeah,
because that happened. There's like a couple cases like that.
Yeah, this is very strange. Like, he's a 23-year-old man. His name is Brian Reaney. And he had just left the Belmont Correctional Institution for burglary and vandalism. And I don't know if this is true or not. If it is true, it does make me a little sad for him. I do feel bad a little bit. He claimed that he pretended to be Timothy because he saw on the news how much James loved his son and wanted him back. And he said that he did not have that kind of relationship with his dad, and he so desperately wanted to feel that kind of love from somebody.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Which, if that is true, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But this obviously devastated the Pitzen family. Brian Reaney actually did come forward, and he gave a formal apology on the news to the Pitzens for making them believe that their son had come home to them.
Yeah.
But to this day, Timothy's family, like I said, they believe wholeheartedly that he is alive, and he's just like out there. He's being homeschooled. He isn't around the kind of technology where he would be able to see the case and what's going on, which is why that Amish theory exists.
Or, I mean, how would you even know? How would you even know?
Yeah, I don't know.
When you're 6, I don't know if I remember stuff from when I was 6. Just like flashes.
It feels like 6 is like a little too old to like not remember, but then again, I don't remember anything from when I'm 6, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I remember like flashes from my childhood, but like no like solid.
Yeah.
And if you're just told something over and over again and you're 6, you just eventually believe it.
And
right?
also I feel like when trauma happens, like when things happen to kids when they're young like that, they typically black it out and then they don't even remember until they're much older, and then it comes
or
back
they don't remember ever.
Or they never remember.
Yeah.
So, Cassidy, what do you think happened to young Timothy here?
I hate to be this person, but I think he's gone.
Yeah.
I think his mom was obviously not a very good person. And she decided, if I can't have him, no one can.
Yes.
She bought him all of his favorite toys, probably buried him with him. That's my guess.
I mean, when I heard about the clothes changing, that definitely is like a...
Yeah, and none of her clothes were found. Why?
Yeah.
Seems like you're getting rid of evidence.
But also I'm like, okay, did the police go to the place where her phone stopped working and like dig up the ground at all? Like, did they even like look through that at all?
I don't know. But yeah, no.
I do think I remember reading that there's family members that said that the police, obviously dropped the ball, which
shocker
is not, it's not shocking. So maybe they're pissed that they never went over there and dug up anything. I don't know.
Yeah, I would be very, very, once again, that's like 1 in a million if he's still alive, living with some sort of family or on some sort of community.
Now, part of me was kind of thinking like, maybe the mom got like tricked into some sort of like trafficking situation, and then she just felt so guilty that she took her own life. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, either way, fuck you.
Yeah, no, I know. I know. I'm just like, I'm trying to think of like what could have happened. I mean, it did seem like she was planning this for a long time, and like, why would she have taken him to the zoo and the water park and all his favorite things?
Yeah, that's literally, that.
Yeah.
I'm making sure he has the best day ever. I'm taking him to get all of his favorite toys. And so, because I'm still a good mom.
No, it definitely, a lot of theories online are the, if I can't have him, nobody can type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you more commonly see that in men, but it doesn't mean it's impossible in women.
Yeah.
I know this story decently well, and it's a very, very sad one.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really, really heartbreaking, and it just really sucks when there's a family that really is holding on to hope like this and
There's no closure.
And they just don't know. Like I don't know. The idea of being like, what if my son is out there and he's trapped in a room?
Or he's looking for me.
Or he's
wondering why I abandoned him.
Yeah. Like, it's just so heartbreaking. And once again, another thing, I don't know. We don't know if James was the most perfect husband and the most perfect dad. We don't know.
Yeah.
We're just going off of what the information we have.
Yeah. Well, that's why this story's so complicated, right?
Yeah.
And also it's like, of course, I hope and I wish that I want him to be alive and to be reunited with his family, but just realistically.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah. And we've seen it happen. But once again, it's very 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the very upsetting and kind of controversial, I guess, case of Timothy Pitzen.
Well, I mean, everybody has their own idea of what happened. I've seen cult.
Yes, there's cult
things.
theories.
I've seen murder. I've seen
there was like
kidnapping.
There was also a theory of
suicide and all that stuff.
Like a possible like satanic sacrifice of
Yeah.
some sort.
I've seen every type of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories about it. Very sad.
Very sad. Thank you for sharing it. I know his family wants that story out there as much as possible. So, keep the name alive. And if he is out there and he might hear a story one day or somebody will tell him something and he'll say, oh, I kind of have this weird memory of did this, this, and this. And hey, why don't they have any baby pictures of me? Who knows? Yeah. And that would be amazing. That would be best case scenario.
It would be.
Would hope that would happen. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not even going to say you're welcome because it's sad.
Thank you guys so much for listening. And if you have a story you'd like to share, you can do that at dtkpod.com/contact. You can also find our Patreon there. You can also find our ways to review us there. Just leave us 5 stars wherever you happen to listen. And if you'd like to buy us a beer or purchase our merch, you can do that once again at dtkpod.com/support. You can also find our YouTube there if you're interested in checking that out, and all of our social media.
That's right.
But most importantly, make sure you keep that front door locked.
Make sure you keep your mind open.
And keep drinking the Kool-Aid.